They say careers don't end in boardrooms or layoffs. They end in moments. A glance, a sentence, a single mistake. For Bimbo, it wasn't the deal she lost or the deadline she missed. It was 5 seconds in a lobby, a careless humiliation, and a cleaning lady who wasn't who she seemed. What Bimbo didn't know? That nobody was somebody, and the wrong somebody to cross. Bimbo's office, high above the city's cacophony, was a sanctuary of steel and glass. From here she commanded her team, her voice sharp as the Harmattan wind, her dismissals as swift and final as a dropped guillotine. Her expensive perfumes, a different one for each day, could not quite mask the faint, lingering scent of ambition that clung to her like a second skin. Junior staff cowered. Ideas were shredded with a casual flick of her wrist. And the cleaning staff were invisible, mere phantoms gliding through the periphery of her success. Can you see her, my friends? Can you feel the sharp edges of her carefully constructed world? But remember, even the most beautiful cage is still a cage. Each morning was a ritual of affirmation. The perfectly pressed suit, the gleaming Hermes bag, the air of untouchable authority. But this morning the air crackled with a different kind of energy, a whisper of fate hanging heavy in the humid Lagos air. The heavens wept that morning, turning the vibrant streets of Lagos into slick red rivers of mud, the kind that stains deep, like a secret kept too long. Bimbo, already running a perilous 20 minutes late for a pivotal client meeting, navigated the treacherous lobby floor. Her pristine white blouse, a testament to her exorbitant taste, became an unwitting canvas for a splash of muddy water. A gasp caught in her throat, quickly replaced by a furious snarl. Her eyes, two fiery coals of wounded pride, swept the polished expanse, searching for a culprit, a scapegoat. There, amidst the muted elegance of the lobby, moved Iya Bukunmi. Iya Bukunmi, a woman etched by 63 years of life's quiet struggles and triumphs, moved with a steady grace, her hands guiding a mop across already gleaming tiles. Her uniform, faded but immaculate, spoke of tireless dedication. Her silver-streaked hair, a crown of wisdom, was neatly tucked beneath a simple head wrap. She had walked these floors, breathed this air, long before Bimbo had even dreamt of conquering its heights. Listen now, for the turning of the tide begins with a single drop of mud. You! Bimbo's voice, raw with indignation, echoed, slicing through the morning calm like a broken shard of glass. Look what you've done. Your dirty water ruined my clothes. Ya Bukunmi, her face a map of gentle confusion, slowly straightened. I am truly sorry, madam, but I was over here. The mud, it came from... Silence! Do not dare to make excuses! Bimbo's voice rose, reverberating off the silent walls, drawing eyes from behind office doors and from the security desk. A collective breath seemed to hold, suspended in the tense air. Ah, my listeners, watch how the mask of civility cracks, revealing the monster within. Bimbo, her eyes still blazing, bent with a predatory grace. Her expensive heels scraped against the marble as she scooped a handful of the tainted water from her shoe. The lobby became a stage, the air thick with unspoken dread. Even the distant hum of Lagos traffic seemed to hush, awaiting the unfolding drama. Since you enjoy cleaning so much, Bimbo hissed, her voice dripping venom, allow me to give you something substantial to clean. And with a savage flick of her wrist, she flung the muddy water directly at Ya Bukunmi. The dark, viscous liquid splattered across the old woman's chest, a grotesque pattern blooming on her spotless uniform. It clung to her, dripping like silent, humiliated tears, staining not just her clothes, but the very air around them. Yabukunmi stood frozen, her mop a trembling staff in her hands, her eyes wide with a pain that burrowed deeper than flesh or bone. A suffocating silence descended, punctuated only by the soft drip, drip, drip of mud falling to the polished floor. Can you feel the weight of that silence, my friends? Can you hear the whisper of a soul being stripped bare? But Bimbo's tirade was far from over. Her voice, fueled by the shock and silent horror of her audience, soared higher, sharp and merciless. This is the outcome when incompetent individuals fail to perform their duties. Observe yourself, covered in mud like the utterly worthless. Bimbo. The single word, spoken quietly, yet resonating with an undeniable power, sliced through Bimbo's cruel crescendo. It was a voice she knew, a voice every employee in Ashabi Enterprises knew, a voice that commanded respect and unwavering attention, calm, measured, bearing the weight of absolute, unquestioned authority. Bimbo froze, her finger still pointed like an accusation, her tirade abruptly silenced. And here, my listeners, the threads of fate tighten. For even the cleverest spider can become entangled in its own web. Slowly, agonizingly, as if time itself had thickened into glue, Bimbo turned. There, standing behind her, having borne witness to every cruel word, every heartless gesture, was Mrs. Olumide Ashabi, the CEO and visionary founder of Ashabi Enterprises, the very woman whose name graced the towering edifice, whose reputation for unwavering principles was as solid as the Lagos soil itself. Beside her, his face a mask of utter disbelief and professional dismay, stood Mr. Johnson, the British client, the very man Bimbo had been so desperately trying to impress. Mrs. Ashabi's eyes, as sharp and unyielding as polished obsidian, moved deliberately. From Bimbo's frozen, shocked face, to Iya Bukunmi's mud-stained uniform, and finally, to the scattered droplets of red earth marring her pristine lobby. "Ya Bukunmi," Mrs. Ashabi said, her voice a balm of surprising gentleness, as she approached the elderly woman with a reverence that stunned the onlookers. "Are you hurt?" Ya Bukunmi, though shaking, managed a soft shake of her head. "No, Ma, I'm fine. Just my uniform." Listen to the CEO's words, my friends. Listen and learn the true meaning of power. Mrs. Ashabi turned to her personal assistant. "Please escort Ya Bukunmi to get cleaned up. Ensure she has a fresh uniform from our storage. And add a 20,000 naira bonus to her pay this week for this profound inconvenience." Then her voice, still calm, but now laced with the unmistakable edge of judgment, addressed the hushed lobby, her gaze sweeping over the frozen faces of her employees. "Allow me to share a truth about Ya Bukunmi. She has been the quiet cornerstone of this building for 15 years. She holds 3 degrees, a bachelor's in literature, a master's in education, and was pursuing her PhD when tragedy struck, leaving her to raise 4 young children alone. The silence in the lobby was so absolute, it pressed in on them, heavy with shame and evolution. She chose to work as our cleaning lady, not from a lack of other options, but because we offered her the flexible hours she needed to nurture her family and still contribute meaningfully to this company. Today, 2 of those children are accomplished doctors. One is a brilliant engineer. Her youngest just secured a full scholarship to university, a future she built with her own 2 hands. Ah, can you feel the shift in the very air? Can you smell the smoke of burning bridges? Mrs. Ashabi's unwavering gaze settled on Bimbo, who now stood like a statue carved from pure, unadulterated shame. Ya Bukunmi has likely contributed more invaluable human capital to our society through her children, than most people in this building will in their entire careers. She is a woman of unparalleled dignity, profound intelligence, and quiet grace. She embodies the very spirit and values that Ashabi Enterprises strives to uphold. The CEO paused, letting her words sink in, settling like the dust after a storm. Unlike some. Mr. Johnson, the British client, cleared his throat. His voice, when it came, was a chilling Arctic blast. Mrs. Ashabi, I came here today with the intent of forging a significant partnership. But I must confess, after witnessing this appalling display, I find myself questioning the character of individuals associated with your esteemed company. Now the web tightens, my listeners. Now the consequences gather like an impending tempest. Mrs. Ashabi nodded slowly. Mr. Johnson, your concerns are not only valid, but entirely understandable. However, allow me to assure you, this isolated act of cruelty does not in any way represent the core values of Ashabi Enterprises. She turned to Bimbo, her voice now carrying the resounding finality of a judge's gavel. Bimbo, your employment is terminated, effective immediately. Please gather your personal belongings. Security will ensure your swift departure from the premises. But Mrs. Ashabi... Bimbo's voice was a barely audible whimper, all her earlier fire extinguished, leaving only ash and regret. It was only... She's merely a cleaning lady. Merely a cleaning lady. Listen to how those words echo now, my friends. Listen to their hollow, pathetic ring. No, Bimbo. She is a human being. She is a mother, a daughter, a pillar of her community, a soul who deserves profound respect, regardless of her job title. That you are incapable of recognizing this fundamental truth reveals everything I need to know about your character. Mrs. Ashabi's voice softened slightly, not with kindness, but with a profound, weary sadness of disappointment. Your grandmother, Nana Yah, was a dear friend. She too cleaned offices, back in those arduous days, to ensure you received an education. She would be utterly devastated by the person you have become. As security escorted a sobbing Bimbo from the building, her designer heels now echoing a desolate rhythm, the hollow, mournful sound of complete defeat, Iya Bukunmi quietly resumed her meticulous work, her movements graceful and resolute. Mr. Johnson watched her for a long moment, then turned to Mrs. Ashabi, a new light in his eyes. Mrs. Ashabi, I've witnessed enough to understand that this company is built on the kind of unwavering values I wholeheartedly wish to be associated with. Let us proceed with our partnership. I believe this will be the beginning of something truly great. And so it was that the seeds of cruelty withered, while the quiet strength of dignity blossomed into unexpected triumph. My listeners, 3 months later, Bimbo sat in a cramped, humid apartment in the bustling heart of Mushin. Her designer clothes pawned, her once unyielding pride shattered into irreparable fragments. Her applications to countless companies in Lagos's tightly knit business circles met with icy silence. The whispers traveled fast. No one would hire the woman who threw mud at a cleaning lady. Meanwhile, Ya Bukunmi continued her quiet, dignified work, her youngest child now thriving in university. Her head held high, unbowed by the trials she had faced, unblemished by the mud that had once sought to shame her. But here, my friends, our folktale, like the ancient Arako tree, asks its deepest, most resonant question. What if Bimbo, in that pivotal moment, had simply uttered, "Excuse me, I am truly sorry," when her path crossed Iya Bukunmi's? What if she had seen her not as an invisible servant, but as a fellow human being, worthy of inherent respect? What if she had remembered Nana Ya's timeless lesson about the bridges we build, or burn? The elders whisper, their voices like the rustling of ancient leaves. Before you cast mud upon another, ensure your own hands are not stained, and your own house not built of fragile glass. But perhaps the profounder truth, like the deep roots of a baobab, lies here. Every soul you encounter carries an untold narrative, a hidden universe of experiences. Every being deserves unreserved dignity, irrespective of their station or title. And the individual you dismiss today may indeed be the very bridge you desperately need to cross tomorrow. Or, in Bimbo's bitter lesson, the person whose quiet strength illuminated the true, barren poverty of her own soul, revealed to the one individual whose opinion held the very fate of her world. What reflections does this tale stir within your spirit? How often do we, in our hurried lives, judge the profound depth of a person by the shallow waters of their superficial role? What unseen bridges have we unwittingly set ablaze through the raging fires of our own pride? When confronted with injustice, do we possess the unyielding courage of Mrs. Ashabi to stand firm and champion what is unequivocally right? And perhaps, most intimately, what would the quiet wisdom of our own grandmothers speak of how we treat those who serve, those who toil unseen, those who hold the silent dignity of their own profound lives? The story has been told, the lesson etched into the very air. What you choose to do with both, that sacred choice, rests entirely with you.